But the first thing that we're going to talk about is today's topic is connecting with teens. So the best way to relate is by being consistent. It helps people feel open and willing when you're vulnerable and you're consistent in your vulnerability. Now when I say consistency, I mean you're going to hear me say this every single week, okay, that we meet. Your consistency in being here makes all the difference in the world. God might be teaching you something on the week that you need to be here, or you might be here to have a word for somebody else. Consistency matters. And there's a lot of times in our life that, and I'm a last minute person, okay? That there's a lot of times in my life that things get juggled and jumbled and stress. And a lot of my stress is not because I don't have enough time. A lot of my stress comes because of my personality is I wait till the last minute for a lot of things. And so you need to say, Thursday night, I am here. I am here like I'm at work. I am here like any other place because I am going to be consistent for my young people. Even if none of them show up and I feel like, why am I coming? You never know if that night you're going to have a conversation with another kid because, you know, that new kid walked through the door, and because none of your kids were here, you had the opportunity to spend time with them. I still remember to this day when Garrett came through the door and Tim just latched onto him. Tim Kavnerzak was one of the best people at making other kids feel comfortable. I've probably really never seen someone before or since that has that automatic gift of finding people and making them feel comfortable. And the moment Garrett walked through the door, he made him feel comfortable. And I remember he played air hockey with him the whole night long. He hung out with him the whole night long. He invited him to church, to go to church with them on that weekend. And I just still remember that it so impacted Garrett. I remember his mom saying, I'm just so grateful, you know, that he's finding friends and so on and so forth. And that's an awesome thing. And Tim just has a way of making people feel comfortable. Think of the first time you ever went to a place. So your consistency makes a difference. Whether your kids come or not, consistency is a big deal to us. And that is something, I'll be honest with you, in years past, not completely, but in some places I felt as a leader that people didn't say, this is really important to me. This is really important. I mean, you guys, if you don't show up, you don't have to see the kid when they say, hey, where's so-and-so? Oh, they couldn't make it tonight. Oh, okay. You know? And so I'm just saying to you guys, this isn't a guilt trip. It's just I'm stressing the importance of this matter of your consistency. Also, it helps when you're vulnerable. Now, vulnerability is a key. I've heard a lot of people say, I have never been in a place where I've seen people be more willing to be as vulnerable as they are, you know, here, or in my small group, or when I'm talking to people. It really makes me feel comfortable that people are being real. You know, we hear that phrase, at least I hear that phrase a lot, you know, growing up where I grew up, you know, keeping it real. You know, are you keeping it real? Are you keeping it this? You know, the best way to keep things real is when you're being vulnerable about yourself. You're being vulnerable about your life, you know? And now of course, use wisdom with that vulnerability. There's some things that don't need to be shared, you know, now there are two different types of people. There are people who are just like, and like all kinds of information you didn't need to know, everyone else in their life would have appreciated if you didn't let them know, and they ain't going to tell you anyhow. And then you got other people who never open up. They never say anything. They never are vulnerable to people. We're looking for the medium here, where you are being wise about the things that you share with people. And if you're not sure, come and ask us. Come and ask me. Come and ask Amy. Come and ask George. Doc's been doing this for a while. Come and ask us and say, well, do you think this is appropriate to share with the young people? You know, and we'll say, yeah, that's appropriate. And there's some things where we'll say, you know, that might not be the best time to share that out openly. You know what I'm saying? So definitely work to being vulnerable, but also use wisdom. So be open and honest with the kids. Just be wise in what you share. Earning their trust by spending time. Now, some of these things you might hear is just like a broken record. Like, man, this is just like, oh, you keep saying this stuff, Nick. I'm glad. Then that means that you're hearing it. And if you're hearing it, then that means that we need to be implementing it. We need to be spending time with them, and that earns their trust. It takes time for people to feel comfortable with other people. Again, sometimes the kid who makes you work the most is the kid that needs your love the most. Most of the time, the kids who are the most standoffish are the ones that really need your love. But they've been hurt a lot in their life. And it's difficult for them to open up. And they're not going to get hurt again. And so they keep a distance between you and this person. And you need to be... There's a girl in our group, which I'm going to leave nameless because the stuff's going on the internet. But you guys know, difficult sometimes to work with. Very standoffish when she first came. But you know what? God, I have seen that young person be transformed in these last couple of years. Hugging people, talking to people, laughing, smiling, you know? And I remember when the early days when that young person came, and I remember when Casey first started to invest in that young person's life, she was very difficult sometimes. But you want to know what? God tries to transform that person. And I've seen just a dramatic change in that young person. It takes time. And we don't know why it takes time for some people. They may never tell you. They may never tell you the reason why of what's locked up in them, but it is, and it does take time. So we need to be spending time with them so that they can learn to open up to you guys. You need to learn to also try to spend time with teens outside of CYC. Now, when Eric first got here, he did a really good thing, and I would advise this for everybody in this room. Not advise this, it's a necessary thing that you have to do. Is that when you are spending time with young people outside of CYC, you need to let me know. You need to shoot me an email. You need to let me know, hey, I've been spending time with so-and-so, outside of CYC. You need to stay in public places. You need to not go park in parks and just talk. You need to be in open places where there's people around you, where you're not alone. Because this is the thing. We don't want an appearance of evil. And we live in a day and age where everyone's a suspect. And everyone's guilty until proven otherwise. You need to make sure that you are being careful about the places that you're taking people, and you need to let people know. I don't want this to dissuade anyone from hanging out with a young person, but you need to be wise in the choice that you make. And if you're not sure, err on the side of being conservative in that choice. Great places to go. When Amy takes people out, she goes to Dunkin' Donuts. That's a great place to go. The coffee is cheap. There's usually hardly ever people inside of Dunkin' Donuts, during that daytime hours. And you can usually get a booth or some place to talk quietly and pretty openly, and the coffee's cheap, and it's a great place to go. And there's an array of things that you can get there. And so Dunkin' Donuts, great place to go. Another great thing to do, run errands. You got to go to Menards and pick things up. You got to run to the mall and pick out an outfit or something. Take them along with you. You're going to run that errand anyhow. You know? You're going to run the errand anyhow, so why not take someone with you, and you are going to get the whole ride there to talk, the whole ride back, and everything in between. You know, hey, you want to get some lunch too? You know, that stuff makes a difference in young people's lives. It's called, Bill Hybels calls it the be with factor. It is probably, as a youth minister and youth ministers, it is our most valuable tool, the be with factor. It is learning to be with young people, and no matter what we do, whenever we're doing it, and it makes a big difference in people's lives. It's the be with factor. You gotta pick tomatoes because Doc's got 75,000 tomato plants at his house. Take some young people with you. You're gonna get a lot of time to have a good conversation in that while you're picking tomatoes. You know, it's true. You're gonna be doing different things, be with them. And your being with them is going to make a difference.